He was born for destroy. He lived for destroy, and no one could stop him. He was a monster who never stopped rampaging. That is why now he is sentenced to the death penalty. However, instead of being scared, the young man even expressed gratitude for being executed. And so, he immediately finds himself in the world of reincarnation. As soon as the goddess of said kingdom arrived, she received him with the happiest welcome as he was already dead. Now, he had the right to be incarnated in another world. No matter what angle he saw it from, the truth was that he was very lucky now. This was an extremely rare opportunity for someone like him. However, it seemed that the boy did not agree. So, the goddess had no choice but to explain everything to him first. She apologized for her lack of manners, noting that they did not have much time, and got straight to the point. At this point, the boy probably already knew that he was dead. Therefore, she would now give him the right to reincarnate in another world. Since the boy did not know anything about this world, the goddess continued explaining. The world he would enter was a world of fantasy, of swords and magic. In this world, the boy could hunt monsters, gain wealth and power, or even have his own harem. As for his new body, he would be reborn with an attractive face and physique. The goddess guaranteed that his life in this new world would be much more exciting than his previous one, especially for someone like him. Shocked by this statement, the boy asked if the woman really knew about him. It turned out that the goddess knew about the fact that the boy was sentenced to death for his crimes. However, the truth was that it was never enough for him since he wanted to end more people. With that being said, the goddess would now give him the opportunity to go to the other world to experience the same thing again. The goddess knew that this was a great deal for the boy, so she was a little surprised when she noticed that he did not even show any emotion. In the back of her mind, she started to wonder what was going on, considering he should have started crying with joy or laughing like a villain. However, it seemed like the boy wouldn't anymore, as he now realized that ending innocent people's lives was the worst thing a person could do. This surprised the goddess a little, considering that the boy was one of the most notorious destroyers in the world, having ended more than 13 people's lives. Despite that, he seemed to have now changed as he finally realized that exhausting lives was the worst type of act that existed. At this point, he already hated ending lives as he had lost his own self-control and morality in the first place. He never wanted to end lives but had no choice but to do it. The worst thing was that even though it already hurt, he didn't have the courage to end it himself and wished that someone else had gotten rid of him in his place. However, for the goddess, there was no way that a destroyer like him could live a happy and normal life in another world, since surely sooner or later, there would be another victim. This would be difficult and painful, and the goddess was sure that he would regret returning to life. If there was something worse than death, then it must be the destiny of being reincarnated in another world. The goddess then told him that when he was reincarnated in that world, he must atone for his sins. After all, he had no right to refuse. Saying this without prior notice, the goddess immediately transported him to the other world mentioned, where his new life would begin, and a new form of life he would have. Now he would take a different path. After just a few seconds, he was transported to the other world, where monsters and adventurers fought one against the other. Judging by it, it seemed that a group of adventurers was against a massive monster. The monster was so massive that the adventurers did their best to defeat it, no matter what, using a technique called Bright Impact Starfall. One of the adventurers, called Uga, easily cut one of the monsters to death. Seeing this left his teammates amazed, but this was already expected from a reincarnated person. One of Uga's teammates then apologized for messing up, which Uga didn't believe at all, considering it's their duty as a team to help each other. Unity should make them strong, so there's no need to apologize for things out of their control. The wielder with a thick shield was a A-class adventurer with a high number of achievements. He protected the lives of her allies with his own body. Then there was the mage Diera, a prodigy who could use all types of magic, including weakening magic and recovery magic. On the other hand, there was Shiruki the Tracker, a novice adventurer with outstanding knowledge. She supported the group with her detection and trap skills. And last but definitely not least, Uga the Reincarnated. With many attack skills, he was the sword of this team. The team was currently exploring the cave of Kanaki. A dungeon located on the northern side of the kingdom was discovered a few years ago. The existence of powerful monsters and dangerous traps has been confirmed. Humans have only managed to reach the 17th underground floor, and it is designated as a dungeon of difficulty level heavy. Shiruki navigated the dungeon. She proceeded to scan the entire area, but to Het's surprise, she was unable to detect any monsters before entering in the deeper levels. Grosso reminded everyone to be careful with the traps, as many people had already died in this dungeon due to negligence. As they ventured further, Daira immediately felt an uneasy feeling and suggested to the group that they should return now, considering they would be rewarded anyway. However, for Grosso, the great mystery in front of them needed to be explored, and he insisted on scratching every inch of its surface. Grosso then asked Uga what he thought about it, and everyone was shocked by what Uga was about to say. Out of nowhere, he asked if the group had heard about the fact that reincarnated people have abilities considered cheats. Daira, who knew about this, explained that according to what she had heard, reincarnated people possess incomprehensible superhuman abilities given by the goddess, making them invincible. Turns out that Uga's ability is that he can see statistics. This skill is simple but very useful. After all, if one knows the state of the enemy, they can predict victory or 100% defeat. With this power, Uga has challenged strong enemies and accumulated a lot of experience. Although they were fast and strong, Uga managed to win the fights in the end without any risk. A little confused about why Uga was telling them all this, Grosso asked what was happening. Suddenly, Uga cut his arms with a slash, and the screams of pain began to resound throughout the floor. Daira tried to fight back against Uga for what he did, but it seemed that her magic was easily blocked by other magic. Uga then directly told Daira that she was not on his level at all and proceeded to end Grosso and Daira in the most horrible ways. On the other hand, Shiruki ran for her life, but of course, Uga wouldn't let her escape. While scanning her stats, Uga could immediately tell that the risk of dying against her was 0. Confused by what was happening, Shiruki asked why Uga was doing all this, to which he responded with the most evil statement ever. According to Uga, he was doing all this because he was bored as hell. Everything was going well when the Demon King still existed. He gained experience, power, and fame, and what happened next was simply peace and tranquility, slow and lazy days. In other words, he takes lives because he wants to take lives. He then revealed that his true purpose in forming a group was to take them into dungeons and destroy the evidence, as people do not visit the lower levels, and the monsters eat their corpses. It is simply the perfect place to commit crimes. Since their conversation was already going a little far, Uga prepared himself with his swords, ready to take Shiruki's life at once. However, it seemed that there was another twist in the plot. Suddenly, the weak Shiruki changed her demeanor, giving Uga an evil look on her face. Shocked by what was happening, Uga asked what was wrong with her and what she was talking about. In the back of his mind, he thought she must have been going crazy with fear. But to Uga's surprise, Shiruki started talking about a treasure chest. He responded he wasn't interested. So, Shiruki asked another question. She knew that his achievements and feats were splendid, but why were there no records of them at all? Of him defeating an S-class monster. Uga started laughing, saying that if he ever encountered an S-class monster, he knew he would never face it, considering the high risk of dying. However, he was surprised to see that Cookie had managed to summon one using the aforementioned treasure chest. Right in front of Ogwa's eyes stood a gigantic golem, an S-class monster. As Ogwa had already stated how risky it was, Shiruki knew this would be the end of him. At first, Ogwa tried to fight it with his sword, but physical attacks didn't seem to work on this monster at all. Ogwa asked, "Who the hell are you really, Shiruki?" To his surprise, she revealed that she was also reincarnated. The goddess had previously brought a total of 12 people to reincarnate in this world, all to defeat the Demon King who disturbed the peace. Just as Ogwa had said before, together they defeated the Demon King but encountered another problem. The 12 heroes scattered around the world had now turned evil, killing for pleasure, banditry, greed, lust, discrimination, scamming, and even engaging in slavery and trafficking. They had all become villains who prioritized their own desires over the welfare of the people. With that said, Shiruki was saddened by the other evil reincarnated who hurt her people, even if they had once fought for humanity. Since something had happened to the goddess, she entrusted Shiruki with the mission of killing the 12 heroes again. The more heroes she kills in this world, the closer she will bring true peace. Without hesitation, Shiriki proceeded to stab Ogwa again and again, slowly and painfully, as his agonizing screams began to echo. Shiriki felt fulfilled seeing him suffer, as she believed that innocent people should not be killed. Every time she killed an innocent person, she felt horrendous and started going crazy. She thanked Ogwa for being a bad person, as now she could kill him without feeling any remorse. While this happened, the goddess watched from above. In the back of the goddess's mind, Shiriki must be feeling good right now, considering it had been a long time since her last murder. But this was more of a redemption, and she couldn't have her happiness yet. For the goddess, this was more of a cause and effect. If the murderer isn't hurt and suffers, the cycle will never end.